Hey guys, welcome to episode number 22 of the KFO show, Kayak Fishing Obsessed. If you love kayak fishing or fishing in general, you're going to love it tonight. We got Debo in the house tonight. I'm pumped about this. He fishes kind of the Midwest, which is like my jam. And so I'm excited to have him. He's going to bring a wealth of knowledge. So I am absolutely pumped. All right, let's hop into some news and updates real fast. First, I want to thank the sponsor, usrivermaps.com. If you've never heard of them, just this past week, yesterday, I was tagged by Shy City Yacker. And boom, he had this awesome piece that Jeff over at US River Maps did for him. I know the paddler playbook guys, they got like 3 of them. These things are awesome. If you've never checked them out, head over to usrivermaps.com and you can get $35 off with this code. Get $35 off. If you're on the podcast right now, it's all lowercase GET, the $, the number 35, OFF. All right, guys, we'll talk up next is the Knucklehead Bass Fishing Series. So for me, this is coming up and starting next month. And this, if you've never been into a tournament series before, this is like an entry-level CPR tournament series, catch, photo, release. And myself, I'm one of the anchors for the Bass Fishing Series. And what that means is starting in May and going May, June, July, and August, 4 different tournaments, you can win a spot on Team Wendell. And we are going to travel down to Lake Gunnersville and Lake Wheeler on Veterans Day weekend and face off against Team Chad Hoover, Team Fluke Master, Team Rudd, Team Creek Fishing Adventures, Team Fishing with Gramps, Team. I mean, it's growing. I think Chad has added like 5 people, half of which I don't even know who they are yet, except for a UFC fighter that's part of it. Guida? I'm not quite sure. But it's going to be a blast. Right now, I just took a look at this not too long ago. I have on my team Ben Smith, Bill Alton, Brian Converse, Calvin Johnson, Colton Cox, Corey Bachtel, Don Butler, Eric Barzak, Aaron Blank, Jesse Kinsner. The list goes on and on. I would love for you to join Team Wendell and win a chance to head down there on the on Veterans Day weekend. It's going to be insane. So you can head over to fishingchaos.com, find the tournament, find Knucklehead, sign up for your favorite team. Hopefully it's mine. If not, then that's fine. If you enjoy losing, that's totally fine. Because I'm going to bring some hammers down there and we're going to put the hammer down. And so it's going to be a blast. All right. Last couple things here. If any of you become a channel member tonight, you will get a $10 gift card from cascray.com. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And also, as a reminder, this is an interactive show. So if you have a question for Debo or a question for myself, go ahead and throw those in the comments. Holy cow, there's already 37 comments. Got to go back through there and check those out just as I'm doing my intro here. But enough talking. The news is over with 25 million views. And this is what he writes on his YouTube page. And I love it. Just a regular guy in the Midwest trying to encourage others to get outdoors and fish. Debo, welcome, my friend. How you doing tonight? Do I have you muted?
I have myself muted. My
Oh,
bad.
all right. There we go.
Just making sure you're paying attention, you know. I'm doing good, brother. Thanks for having me on. I was just saying, I was checking the weather right now real quick, and we do have some tornadoes and bad weather coming through. So I think we're going to kind of be on the outskirts, I hope. But if stuff goes out, I'm sorry. Weather.
Tornadoes.
Yes.
You're in Iowa, is that right?
Iowa. Yep. Southeast
right.
Iowa.
Do you have like a storm shelter outside your house?
No, I'm in the basement. So, I mean, I wouldn't do anything different. So if tornado rolls through, as long as it doesn't bust the electricity and internet, we're good. So
Yeah, I like it. It was on your site. Of course, if any of you ever like typed in anything, want to know about fishing, they would have came across one of your videos with 25 million views across the channel. I want to hear the story. I always, we'll get into the meat and stuff. We're going to talk about some power fishing stuff that you really love to do. I gathered a few questions from individuals prior to the show,
okay.
but it always makes it a lot more fun and more real to me when like I hear the journey of like at one time you had 0 views. Now you have 25 million. You created this
That's
community,
right.
and like walk us through how that happened.
So I mean, the YouTube journey was, I got back into fishing. Gosh, it was probably like 2014, I want to say ish.
Okay.
I fished all growing up. My dad always had a boat. He was a huge bass fisherman growing up. So fished all the way up through high school ish. And then college kind of took a different turn. I got into some other stuff. I did a couple other different hobbies for like 13 years and really didn't fish much at all. I did a little river fishing and stuff. I worked with a guy. We did that, but it was really limited. I was really hardcore into some other stuff. So got back into fishing after that, worked with some people who were kind of getting into the fishing scene, and they're like, man, you're a really good teacher. At the time I trained at my job, and they're like, you should like do the YouTube stuff. There's, people that do this. And I was on zero social media. So I had no Facebook, no Instagram, like nothing, zero. And they're like, yeah, there's people that do this for videos. You can like make money. You can like do videos, show all this people. I'm like, there's no way. And yeah, it was surprising to me that people did that, and it's kind of all blossomed from there.
What was your first video? You remember?
I think my first video was either me fishing in my John boat, just like a day fishing, or I think it was like a hook video, like different types of hooks for like beginners to use or something like that, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
They were horrible. They were really bad videos. Like there was a sheet in the background. Now you can see I've upgraded to a mess in the background. Me sitting on the couch talking about stuff. It's funny. That's what I tell people. Like people ask me all the time, how can you like be successful at YouTube? And I don't consider myself a successful YouTuber. Like I'm not, the upper echelon. I'm just a dude that makes videos like anybody else. But the biggest thing is to be consistent and keep growing better than you were the day before. Like so many people try to achieve overnight success, like these channels that have been doing it for years and years and years. And there's some that do, there's some that blow up in, a year's time, but for most people, it's going to be a very slow, consistent growth to do it.
Yeah. What did they say? It only took me 7 years to be an overnight success. So yeah, there's a lot of work in going. It actually was one of the questions here. Let me find it real fast since we're on this subject. Earlier, it came in.
Gramps. I was just reading comments, and Gramps said he had the Macho Man. I did. So I try to be. That was one of the things that when I started watching videos, I was like, most of these YouTube videos are boring as hell. Like I'm falling asleep. Like it's good information, but it's bad. And like when I present, like as a job, I try to be high energy and fun. And I kind of came out that way. And going back and watching my videos, as they progressed, I'm like, this is a little bit too much. Like because they say on camera you have to act up, or you have to like really increase your energy, because it's really easy. Like if I'm just talking to you, oh hey, I'm talking to my buddy here, and then on camera that doesn't translate well. When you're trying to keep people involved, keep people watching the video. So yeah, I did have to dial that back, Gramps. I was on a Mountain Dew high a lot.
So here's a question, since we're on the kind of topic. Richard Souza. This one came in beforehand, so that's why no one's like, where'd that come from? I asked people to ask some questions in case they can't be on tonight and want to watch a replay. How can you get into the business? Now, you started how many years ago?
I think my first video was 2016.
Okay, 17? So fairly early. Not early, like you just started, but
yeah, I think I think it may have been 2017, somewhere in there, but I wasn't consistent for a long time. It was like maybe a video every couple weeks or so, so nothing serious until like, I would say probably late 2018, 2019 when I started to grind.
Would the answer change? Obviously, I think it would, but back then and now, how would someone get into the business today? Because I can't tell you how many people write me like, what should I do? I want to start it. Is it too late? I don't know. Help me out. Something, please.
YouTube or the fishing business?
I think YouTube was the context of the question. I mean, it was to you. And so I think YouTube, the business of fishing.
Yeah, YouTube is weird. Like if I could crack the algorithm and have, most of my videos blow up and like get lots of views, I would try to share that. But I feel like sometimes it's a crapshoot even for me, who's been doing it this long. Like I'll be really proud of a video and put a lot of work and time into it. And it's like, oh, this is your worst performing video out of your last 10. And I'm like, what the hell? And then it's like, I'll sit down and make a quick one because I'm like, I haven't done a video this week. Oh, your number one video in the last 5 months. I'm like, but consistency. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to do it now, there's definitely more competition now. When I first started putting videos out, there wasn't a ton of YouTube fishing channels. So I think being consistent and finding your niche, as they say, being you and doing what you do and not trying to, um, do stuff that's out of your lane.
Yeah. I was just having breakfast with a guy this morning, and he was just telling me about another YouTuber who's just kind of really just following the algorithm and trying to follow that. And it's maddening if you go that way. You'll just I'll forever be frustrated because it changes all the time, and no one really knows. Everyone speculates. But I'm curious for your journey. Was there a time where it took off, or was there a time where you decided I'm going to take this seriously? And like, what were some things that you can like? Okay, I did this, and I saw the direct result of that.
I don't know that there was like a certain time, but I'm very like obsessive when it comes to hobbies and things that I'm doing. It's like I'm either 120% in or I'm not. And of course, I have my ups and downs on YouTube. There's been probably like 3 or 4 times where I was ready to be done, not make another video ever again. Certain things happen, people talk me back into it. But I wouldn't say there was like a certain point. I think it was again just being consistent, and for me, I kept seeing steady growth. I would see, okay, I put out more videos, I would do this, I would grow a little bit more. And I don't know, I think I just kept driving off of that.
When did you decide to go full time?
Oh, I'm not full time.
Oh, you're not. Okay,
No,
that
no.
all right. So this is still a side gig for you.
Yep, still just a hobby, side gig, fun. Yep. I still work 50 hours a week, my regular job. So,
All right, my man,
yeah.
getting it done on the side. You're doing
I got kids to feed. Come
Yeah,
on, man.
I
YouTube doesn't pay that well.
I hear you. I just put them. That's why my show starts at 8:30 because I need to put my kids down and
Mm.
then come down here and the last minute get everything all started up. Uh, I love it. All right. Once again, if you got a question for Debo tonight, go ahead and throw that in the comments. We'll circle around to that. But let's go ahead and hop over here. I had some questions for you. You seem I watched a bunch of your videos today. I've watched them in the past, right? Pretty
Hmm.
cool. A lot of it is gear related
Was
and
that when I was
related.
Macho Man and then you
Uh,
stopped watching him because I was annoying as hell? Like, who
I
is
don't
this clown?
I don't think I found that one.
Okay, yeah,
I
good.
need to
Don't
go
go back
back
to
and
those.
find it now. Snap into the Slim Jim. I loved it. All right. Let me see. So the theme of the show tonight is around kind of shallow power fishing. Well, the one question for all of you wonder when I ask people to come on the show, I don't pre-interview them. I just ask them what's one thing they're uniquely positioned or something that is passionate about and like talking about. Something they
Mhm.
just really enjoy. And so when I asked Debo that, he was like, kind of like shallow power fishing, spinner baits, frog fishing, structure fishing. And so
Yes.
I would love for you, especially going into the spring, right? Where a lot of us are watching in from. Um, what does that look like for you? Walk us through like what you're using, what what's your how many poles you got set up, kind of what's on them, why, and kind of your approach and strategy into the spring right now.
Well, it's going to sound kind of contradicting now that you set it up that way, but in the early spring, I don't really start like, I guess, power fishing until that shallow bite really heats up and is, consistent throughout the week. But for early spring here in Iowa, I mean, we're just finally getting, decent weather where I can get out. And of course, the days that it's free, it's either blowing 700 miles an hour or there's tornadoes and rain. So, um, but early spring for me, I like a jerkbait, suspending jerkbait. I like a Ned rig. You can still go spinnerbait, especially once it starts to warm up a little bit. You get some of those fronts that have moved through. You get just a little bit of warmer trending up. I like to definitely get that spinnerbait out, a lipless. All the, I guess, kind of the normal things probably that people are throwing spring. I'm not doing anything special. I think it really depends on the lake that you're fishing and fishing to your strengths. Because I see so many people, especially with YouTube, like it can be a huge help and it can kind of be a hindrance of,
Mm,
like I'll have people that'll watch a video and be like, oh, I had just had a gentleman say, I watched your video on spring lures. I tied in a jerkbait. I suck with them. Went out and caught like 10 fish. I'm like, yes. Then you'll see people say, well, I saw so and so throwing a big swim bait. I tried it and can't catch anything. So it's like, I don't think it's
same,
bad trying new things,
right?
but maybe kind of adding that into what you're confident with, and you kind of know, not just depending on, well, somebody said it's good, it should work for me, right? So
Sure. Sure. So let's kind of skip over spring then and talk
Okay.
about what sounds like your favorite time of the year. You don't, do you even own a kayak? I was looking through your videos trying to identify one. I didn't see one. You're like
I own an 11-foot aluminum kayak. Does that count?
called a canoe.
Called a John boat.
There
Yeah.
you go.
I have an old 11-foot John boat with a trolling motor on the back. And people have asked me, like, can you get into kayak fishing? Would you talk to somebody and get a kayak? And I'm like, I honestly just can't justify. Like, there's people out there with way nicer kayaks than my little John boat. And I'm like, I can't justify getting rid of the John boat to get a kayak. Like, I'm not a tournament guy. I'm not, a local hammer that's going to win thousands of dollars. Like, I just like to fish for fun. So it's like, my John boat can do everything a kayak can. So
Yeah. All right. All right. Have you been in any lately? Come on, they're awesome.
I've never been in a kayak ever.
You're joshing me.
Never touched
Never
one.
been
I've
in a
always had a
kayak.
John boat. My
All
dad's
right.
always had a bass boat, and I've had the John boat. So
Hey. All right. If there's
Yeah.
any time you are in Canton, Ohio, we will get you in a pedal power kayak just to see. You might hate it, and then you'll know.
I'd be down to try it. I just, like I said, it's hard for me to justify having my little, John boat with the trolling motor on the back. And
It's true. I could use a motor right about now because that pedal drive is it's getting tiring after a while. Because my spot, of course,
I
is
could use
always
it.
it's always on the other
pedal
side.
driving.
I know people ask me the question. I think I shared this before, but I was thinking about getting a new kayak, and I have a Native Slayer Propel 10, and it's pedal drive, which is nice. I love pedal drive, and I was talking to Chad Hoover, and I was talking about the Bonafide because he reps them and loves his Bonafide, and he asked me questions like, "Why do you want pedal power kayak? Why not get a motor?" I was like, to be honest with you, like I do zero physical activity, absolutely none.
Same.
I need something. And I noticed I've been able to go out just a few times so far because the weather in Ohio has sucked really bad. But I remember like I just got done pedaling in my spot. I was like wheezing on camera, like I'm in edit phase. I'm like, what? I can barely speak. I was like, all right, I need to stick with the pedal power kayak for a while. Oh my goodness. All right, I got some questions coming in. I feel like I'm being set up. Amy Richards, Debo, curious about your love for purple baits. Is there a
There's nothing weird behind it. Purple is just a color that seems to work here in the Midwest. Like I actually posted on Instagram, people will, I can not really say argue with it, but they'll say, "Oh, purple." You don't ever see anything purple in nature, but it's like you look at the top of a crappie, purple. You look at the shatter on here, purple. You look at the bluegill on them, purple. So it's not a ton of purple. Is that why it works so well? I don't know. Is it just a confidence thing? Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. I know I haven't delved into purple that much. I just got some June bug because everyone keeps talking about it. I keep seeing here and there. I did have another question come in early, and like the variations of purple in the lure that I've seen has been like either tequila sunrise or June bug. And tequila sunrise is more of like a lighter, right? June bug's more of a darker. Typically, when you see that attached to a lure, maybe not. What's your thoughts? Do you throw one during certain scenarios over another?
No, I mean, it kind of depends on the lake. Like there's some lakes around here that, yeah, tequila sunrise is definitely one. Like my dad, I grew up throwing that. If I was trying to tie on any other warm color, like I was getting slapped in the back of the head because it was tequila sunrise or you're out of my boat. Um, but yeah, June bug, I like June bug a lot. There's actually a color called, and I had Braden, I don't know if he's watching, but he sent me a message on Instagram that who was it? Sportsman's Warehouse or somebody was carrying the Zoom Old Monster and Gooseberry. So if y'all have never checked out Gooseberry, it's like a black and dark purple. The trickworm Gooseberry was my favorite, but apparently they have them in the old monsters, the big worms, which I've never seen before. So I don't know if that's like a store exclusive, but yeah, I don't know. And I'm not big on like the light purples, like the what is it, MM2 and the like robo worms.
Okay.
Oh, it's like the really dark purples. I don't know. It's probably a confidence thing, but
I don't know. I hear you. You kind of have your colors that you go to, and they seem to work for you. So, hey, this one comes in from Jeremy. I feel like there's going to be like a lot of inside jokes here from people who watch you or now watching this. Maybe not. Maybe they're like legit questions But I know I felt like there was a lot of questions coming in early.
I'm sure there will be.
Yeah, this might be one of them. Since Guggen's the only thing you throw, which I know that's not true. What is your
So
favorite
yeah, so
Googie
that's a
bait?
joke. Yeah,
I
that's a joke
figured.
on our
I
live stream.
figured.
People, if you're in the Guggen camp, like you either have to love them or hate them, it seems like. So I always
Huh.
say on my channel, because like we get a Guggen question every week when I go live. And I always tell everybody I don't love them, I don't hate them. Like I think they're cool. I respect what they've done. Some of their lures are cool, some of them suck. Like this one right here, actually, talk about purple. Is one I picked up because I think they absolutely freaking nailed this color. And nobody throws these. I'm gonna do a video on these. They're a big, southern Florida thing, but like I always called them a cut tail worm growing up, is what my dad called them. But they
Okay.
call them like a swimming worm or something. But it's probably not going to show the color, but it's like this
It's
purpley,
showing.
almost
Yeah.
like tequila sunrise and then a green pumpkin. So I think the Guggens absolutely crush this color and just a different swimming worm. So I picked some of these up, but yeah, I neither love nor hate them. So it's always a question that comes up.
Seems like so they're trying to set you up.
Are they?
I don't know. I
Jerks.
get the questions too. It's almost like a polarizing group of people that people expect you to have
Yeah,
opinion on.
you have to be one side or the other. That's what I'm saying. Is like when like people talk Guggen, you either have to love them and throw only their stuff or hate them. And it's like that's fine. There's a middle ground. It's like a lot of other companies that make stuff that I like and don't like. It's okay.
Right. Right. All right. So let's get back to kind of your bread and butter, what you love to do.
Okay.
We're skipping over spring. The bite is hot, shallow. What are you rigging up? We're saying probably what, May, June.
Yep. Post spawn summer fishing into summer is like my favorite fishing. Getting up super early, getting on that morning topwater bite. Being here in Iowa, I'm always throwing one of these. And I didn't have this set up. This was just stuff that I had laying here. A frog, like if I could fish only one lure for the rest of my life and catch fish on it, hands down, without anything coming close, to be a frog.
Let's pause
I
there
think
real
the
fast.
big, yeah.
The frog. So you pick up your favorite, because I would imagine in that room of yours there may be 100 frogs sitting around.
I don't know. I don't know if I've got many frogs left. That's sarcasm. Uh, yes, I do have a bunch of frogs. The Spro, especially the bronze eye frog, in the freak color is definitely up there. The Booyah Pad Crasher was one I threw forever just because you used to be able to get them at Walmart around here for like $3.99, I want to say.
Oh wow.
It's like an all black Pad Crasher, or the is it Old Smoky? Now I'm second guessing myself. I think it's Old Smoky. It's like a clearish gray color with like pepper flake in it. That's a
Okay.
very, very underrated color. Um, Gosh, trying to think of other ones. Scum does has some cool frogs. This is another one. This is the I think this is the Bobby's Perfect. I only threw it a couple times. I don't know why it's randomly sitting here, but those are a couple of my favorites.
Okay. Now, do you modify them in any way whatsoever? I know people get all kind of crazy about what they
Yeah,
do to their frogs, and
there's a
sometimes it may be legit, and other times it's like you just need something to do. And some people swear by it. So, I mean, do you
the
make any
only
mods to them?
the only couple things I do, I always cut the legs short so they're shorter than the body. So there may be like 2.5 inches for the legs. You can cut one a little bit shorter than the other, helps it walk. Like one side will have a little bit more drag,
Yep.
so it'll kick to one side. On some of the frogs, I'll bend the hooks up because a lot of them, even like this one, they're touching the body. So if you're missing bites and stuff, bend the hooks up. And then the only other thing I really do as a bank angler is I will sometimes add some BBs into the, like where the hook cavity is here. And
Oh,
just put some BBs in to add weight. Fishing from the bank, a lot of times there will be like a spot you see fish blowing up, and it might just be, you know, 20 feet more than you can cast. Throw a few BBs into it, and it can be golden. So
yeah. Mike's got a question for you here. Popping frog or walking frog? What's your go-to? Or is there a certain time you throw one over the other?
there are definitely times for both, but I think walking frog is the best because a walking frog you can pop really hard side to side and make it pop. Um, and then, of course, it doesn't matter where you're at. You can weave that through grass and reeds. You can bring it over moss. You can skip it under overhangs, right next to brush, over logs. It doesn't tend to catch and grab stuff as much as the popping. But if I'm fishing like reed lines, grass lines, anything where I want it to really just sit there and next to like a big log or a stump, that popping frog is really nice. Or if you got a little bit more wind too, a little bit of ripple. I know people don't really think of a frog in that time, but if you got just a little bit of ripple, make a little bit more commotion there.
Okay. Is there a particular popping frog or a particular walking frog? You're like, yep, that's the one I usually reach for first.
No, those are kind of my go-tos. I'm trying to think if there's any new ones. I mean, it's kind of the standards.
Yeah.
Booyah, Spro. I was thinking there was one who, the which I didn't want to like was the Mega Bass Big Gabo. That was an awesome kind of in between, but at like $15 a pop, $16 a pop, whatever. It's kind of tough to swallow, but it's a really good frog.
Is that the only reason you didn't want to like it because of the price
Yes,
tag on
just
it?
the price. Yes. Yeah, that frog caught me a ton until it got chewed by a snapping turtle. Then it was rest in peace.
Oh, wow. All right. I don't think I've ever had a turtle grab a hold of a frog before.
Really? Somebody
No.
was asking about the Helgramites that I showed in the video. And I've fished a Helgramite a few times, and both times I've fished it, the only thing I've caught is a snapping turtle.
Really?
Both times. So
Fascinating. All right, here we go. Trevor Wagner got a question for you. Best frog on the market. And let me help you out with this one. So give it like a $5 below, 5 to 10, and then 10 high.
$5 below Pad Crasher, if you can still get it for that. I think
Yeah.
Walmart might still have them for that.
Okay.
5 to 10. I think the Spro Bronze Eye is like $7, $8. That would be my choice. Above 10, I think I'd go with that Big Gabo.
Okay. All right. Solid. Steve Brockway, Northeast Ohio here, my man. He's like probably my neighbor. What is the target temp to start the top water bite, in your opinion?
I always think like 60-ish. There's people that will go, way below that, especially like the guys in Florida, like pre-spawn, spawn, fishing those top waters. I don't have the best of luck doing that. I know like a buzzbait bite can be really hot at that time, but 55, 60 is when I'm starting to really think like, okay, top water is going to probably get turning on here pretty quick. And depends on the lake too. Like if you do bank fishing, or maybe not even bank fishing, kayak fishing, whatever, the small ponds and stuff are going to warm up a lot quicker than the big lakes. You might have a small pond that's, almost 10 degrees warmer, especially if it gets a lot of sun, a lot warmer than, the big lake or reservoir, whatever it is that you're fishing. So,
Yeah.
and, even if you are fishing a big lake, looking for that warmer water. There was a day, speaking of frogs, Dad and I, it was, just barely kind of that post-spawnish time. And we found a muddy back cut into like this little pocket where a creek came in.
Yep.
And that creek had the warm water, from being real shallow water pouring in there, and it was really muddy. And I didn't think we were going to even catch anything. The rest of the lake was good and clear. And we caught a few here and there, but man, once we got back in there, I'm like, man, there's some pads that are already up in here and stuff. I'm going to throw a frog. And I remember Dad chuckled at me like, you think you're going to get on a frog bite? And we did. And it was like an awesome day of like 2.5 pounders. Each of us probably caught 15, just, bang, bang. It was just a bunch of little males in there, but that's fun as hell when it's that early. Like I had a sweatshirt on and, it was still cold, early spring. So
love it. Amy Richards got a question for you. And I always let people know if I let questions take the show. I have a bunch of questions and I do a lot of prep work, but
we do that too.
If people continue to have questions, that's why the show is for. It's not for Debo and I to get out here and just talk about what we want to talk about. So I'll let you guys run it. Amy's got a question here for you, which I appreciate. She actually had the arrow for the question. It really helps me identify because I'm trying to listen to Debo and like manage the back end over here and all these comments. So thank you, Amy. You rock.
Oh.
So when you roll up on a lake or pond, how does that impact your bait choice? Like, how do you break that down?
Oh gosh. So I usually kind of start by time of year and like what I think the water temp is going to be. And then once I get there, like that might completely change based on what that lake's fishing like. Because it could be a lake that historically I've gone to it, and every time it's really, really clear. It might be a lake that has a bunch of vegetation normally. We had some of those last year where they treated it with, I don't know what the hell the chemicals are that they put, stuff they put in to kill a bunch of that hydrilla and, coontail or whatever it is that we call it around here. And you might get to that lake and it's nothing like the past couple of years that you fished it, right? So I think the other thing is, basing it on the time of year, what are the temperatures, where should those fish kind of be, and then go from there once you see the lake. Is it really super duper muddy and it's, flooded recently? Probably going to be up shallow. Is it really, really clear and there's no vegetation anywhere around? They're going to either be tight to cover under stuff. out deeper. Like, so it just really depends on the place that I'm fishing and kind of go from there. And it can even change. Like you might put all that together and think, I know exactly what they're going to be doing. And then you do what you think, and then it doesn't work at all.
Yeah, all the time for me.
So
That's my
yeah,
story of my fishing life right there. Yeah.
yes.
I can't tell you how many like started videos I've started
Oh,
only
dude.
to catch crap and have to delete it when I have to go through and delete like 8 hours of video afterwards all the
Yes.
time.
Been
All the
there.
time. Yeah, I hear him. So I actually saw a really cool video that you did today. I was like, oh, that makes sense. I'm not sure if I really ever thought of that before. You were bank
Okay.
fishing and you were breaking
Okay.
down laydowns that have fallen in and how
Hmm.
you would fish those. I think you had a
Sure.
bandito bug actually. Um, and it was very systematic and very strategic, which I really appreciate because I'm pretty systematic and strategic. And so, I mean, I was trying to think of it from the other way, right? I'm out in the kayak fishing
Hmm. Yep.
out, which it still makes sense. You just do it in all reverse.
Sure.
But if you haven't thought of that before and you're walking the bank, most people when they see a lay down, they're like, I need to stay away from that because I'm going to get caught up. However, pass it off to you.
Yeah, complete opposite. And that's the way I would completely agree. I think most beginners too, for sure, fish too safe. So, I know when I was younger, one of my other confidence baits, this guy right here, spinnerbait. And it was just out of necessity. You can throw it, you can reel it in. I wasn't like good at working a jig and stuff or like dragging a worm like my dad was. So I would just be casting, reeling this around stuff to see what works. And I would always be like, a couple feet off it because I didn't want to get snagged, right?
Right.
And you're missing so many bites doing that. Kind of talking about breaking down, wood or laydowns or anything like that. Casting to that spot that's closest to you first, the outside edge. That way, if you catch anything, you're not bringing it through all that and disturbing everything else. If it's a big tree, for whatever reason, the crotch of the tree, 9 times out of 10, always has a fish. I feel like, if it's a big loggy tree in the spot where it like splits into the V, yeah, it looks like
Yeah.
we call it the crotch of the tree.
The
That
crotch
spot,
or the Y,
yeah,
but the crotch. I like the
yes,
crotch better.
yes, the Y. That's yeah, the Y of the tree. Um, Flip into that like a Texas rig or something to that seems to always have a fish, and then just picking it apart, kind of getting back farther. And like you said, the opposite in a kayak. The one thing that's different for bank fishing is you have to be mindful when you throw that in there because you have to have a way to get it back out to you.
So you don't
So
get
if
it
you're
caught
flipping,
in all the mini crotches of the tree.
right,
Right. For
yes,
me,
yeah,
I just pull them over the
yep,
Y.
yep. Paddle over to it, yeah, paddle over to the crotch and get it out of there.
No, there's a couple of things that you mentioned there I thought were good points. Like you said, they're sitting like next to it. And so if you think you're getting
Yes,
their attention by throwing it 2 feet off of it just to stay safe, you're missing it, right? Get in there. Also, you were throwing right in the middle of this stuff, right in the junk. So learn your you got to learn your weedless presentations in order to get in there. And here's the thing, you're gonna get caught up. But if you're getting caught up, you're fishing the right places. That's what I've always said, people. So
yep.
all right, let's back out of that a little bit. Let's go back slower, lower fishing. You had a question. We're gonna go back to the conversation on frogs and
Mm.
tips on frog fishing. Heavy pad cover. I like this question because I have really heavy pad cover. Like, what do you do in that situation?
Yeah, so we've got there's one lake that I can think of here that is as close to Florida fishing as I think I could probably imagine. And it's as thick and paddy and weedy and grassy. Like when you're going in there, you can't even take like I tried to take my John boat there once and my battery was zapped before I was even like a tenth of the way around this place because there were so many weeds and there was so much stuff. And a kayak, that's one big advantage to a kayak is you can paddle that around no problem. Whereas my John boat, I was out a day and did that, and I thought I was going to have a heart attack and die paddling my big
Oh,
cinder
wow.
block of a
Yeah.
John boat around. Yeah. So in that case, I guess a John boat can't do everything that a kayak could do. But in that really, really thick stuff, I think like there's a couple things that I've noticed is edges and holes.
Yeah.
So if you've got really, really thick stuff, like it can be really monotonous to just like go down the side of it and just keep throwing and throwing. Like looking for those little things that are different. Like if you catch a fish in a hole, So it's like all pads, all scummy. Notice there's like, it can even just be the size of a dinner plate. It could have been a fish that come up there and already hit something, or it could just be, a natural little hole. Waking up to that and slowing it down, just to the edge of it, kind of skittering across like a frog or a mouse or anything would do in that open water, and just kind of leaving it there, just so they can barely see it. Or, finding the different grass patches. It's all pads. Everything looks the same, except, man, there's this one clump of like reeds or like a little tree or something. Like you said, they'll be stuck to that. I mean, they'll just be stuck waiting to ambush. So anything you can find different, a bunch of pads by a big laydown, probably something going to be there. So just looking for those things that are different, really. Innies and outies too, I call them, cuts or peninsulas, I guess.
Oh,
So
yeah.
if you notice, the pads are all straight, all straight, all straight, and there's one spot where the pads really stick out, probably a good spot to spend more time. Or the opposite, it's nothing, nothing, nothing. There's a spot where there's like a big, cut back into it, fishing that spot.
Yeah, for sure. Jeremy Breed, follow up, look for something different.
Yep.
Definitely. There's something going on under the water that it's signaling to you above the water. And that change usually holds fish. So right on. All right. We had a smorgasbord of questions come in. So let me see here. I think I know this one's a joke because I don't think you drop shot, if I'm correct.
None of the above. I hate.
Yeah.
I will do it from time to time, but I'd rather have somebody stick hooks through my fingers than fish a drop shot, I think.
Just because I'm curious. Tell me why.
So from a bank angler's point of view, so if I
Got
get caught up in something and snag and break, then I've got to tie a new leader. Then I've got to figure out how far down I want my hook. Did I get it to the right spot? Then I've got to get my, my weight the right. It's just such a headache. I'd rather just tie in a new Ned rig, EWG Ned rig, and go.
Be good for it. All right, like it. Let me see. Bassin with Big Malone caught a frog on a swim bait. I'd like to see this.
Caught a turtle on a swim bait.
On a swim bait. Wow. Oh, that's a turtle? It is a
Yeah.
turtle. Sorry, I thought that was a frog like hunched over like this. It is a turtle. So small.
Probably a little snapper.
Bowfin. What do you say here? Good. Got out to fish yesterday for the second this year. Got skunked all day. 8 to 8. One bite, lost on the boat. He was texting me the whole time.
That goes.
And he did get one on the Ned rig. And he foul hooked a red ear. So kind of got one on the boat illegally, but he threw it back. So hey, you know what? It happens. It happens to me. It happens to everybody. Best advice I've ever received from Debo regarding lures: throw it like you've already lost it. I've done that, and that's the reason I've caught more fish. Solid. I like it. Mind right. I went to the strip mines in Ohio yesterday and slayed some bass, 30 plus. Dang. I know what you're talking about, Mind right. You were down in my honey hole, and it is an absolute insane. Over 900 lakes and ponds that you just drive around and drop in your kayak, and then you pop out and you go into another one. They're old strip mines.
Damn, that'd be awesome. We have some of those here too.
Yeah,
those are usually really fun.
They're fun. They were stocked back in the day with bluegill and bass, and so for Ohio, there's some 6, 7s dancing around in there. And so one of my favorite places to go, free camping. This conversation continues to get better. You can just go in there, pick a spot, and you can stay there. So it is absolutely insane. So I go down there. It's like my paradise when it comes to bass fishing. And if you love kayak fishing, it's like you can't access these. You access like a part of it, bank fishing, but you really need a kayak. Like you hop in your kayak, you fish the pond, then you climb over a beaver dam. They fish the pond behind that, and you climb over another beaver dam. You fish the pond behind that, and that's where the aggressive ones are. It's pretty awesome. All right, Bowfin, text me. I'll tell you all about it. Heck, we'll go down there together. I know he lives probably 45 minutes away from me up in Cleveland. Indiana Sportsman's got a question for you, Debo. Tips on fishing thick coontail. I have a lake/pond that I can put my kayak in. It's just lay down in trees and really thick, stocky coontail. That sounds like a fun time.
Yeah, so that can be. I've had days where I feel like I've figured that bite out so well, and other days I just feel lost. I think again, it's like it's edges, and especially those drop offs, edges of that coontail and grass, or whatever it is, and edges of those on drop off. So oftentimes you'll have a hard line, where that sun stops really getting to it and it stops growing as much. It gets out too deep. you'll have a hard line because there's sometimes you can fish over it. Talking early spring, you can start power fishing over the tops of that before it's all the way up. Ripping a little lipless through that stuff is amazing. Yo-yoing it. I talk about yo-yoing a lipless, and you're just casting it out and just barely feeling it hit that stuff and then rip it, then and just keep doing that. Awesome way to fish that stuff. Holes again, especially post spawn when it's kind of still sparse and you can see spots sticking up, spots that aren't all around. Like a Texas rigged stick bait or a fluke has been my probably go-to then, because usually when you've got that kind of grass and milfoily type stuff, coontail, whatever, it's usually pretty clear water. The plants do a good job of filtering and cleaning that. Big baits and stuff, usually you throw them in there, you'll spook them. So a little weightless bait like that is really good, very natural, seems to do really well. And then, if you have a kayak or boat, getting to the outside and finding that outside edge of it and fishing, it could be a jerk bait, could be spinnerbait, chatterbait, whatever you're confident with.
Love it. This one comes in. We're gonna switch over to reels here. Well, first I want to talk. Let me take this question. So I just received this girl here. It is my COROS 200 HG. Helped the guy out with a video. He texted me back and he was like, "Hey, my business just grew like in the past month since you posted that video, 495%. I want to send you something." And he loves the COROS. I know, right?
Oh yeah.
So this is the nicest, I think, reel that I have now, and I need to put it on. So I just got it in the mail like 48 hours ago, and really haven't had time to do any research on it. Have you had your eyes on this or hands on this before, and thoughts?
So is that the new DC you said?
It's not. It's the 200 HG. What they call it?
Okay. So just the normal COROS. Okay. Yep. Yeah, I've got a couple of those. Awesome reels. One of the best reels at that price point for a do everything setup. Shimano, I think hands down has the smoothest reels on the market, kind of the most refined. When you talk about tolerances and stuff, usually their reels all feel solid, smooth. There's a reason they do so well. So many people like them.
Right. Well, I'm jacked up about that. So that's pretty awesome. Let me see. We got a question coming in from Cooler Lid AP120. Debo, are you planning on picking up a Cast King MG12?
I don't know what that reel is.
I don't.
Probably not.
Don't either. Hey, help us out, Cooler Lid. Give us a little bit more context down there, and maybe we'll circle back on it, and we'll see that in a second.
I'm trying to think as far as new stuff. I did pick up the new SLX, which is an awesome, budget reel, $99. Those have been one of the most popular for a reason. I'm trying to think what else I have as far as new reels. I picked up a couple of the new Revos to try out. I think those have been my recent purchases. You're talking about Shimano's. We were talking about this last time. There's also a reason that so many people still go after the old ones. This is a 200 E7 from I think these came out in 02, 03.
Oh, wow.
People still they're $250, $300 on eBay still, which is crazy.
So they're discontinued and people want them.
Yeah. They were the last COROS to be made in Japan. When you flip it over and look at the reel foot, it actually had it stamped in the middle. Probably won't be able to see it, but right there. Oh, there you go. Right there. Last one's made straight in Japan. So
interesting. A comment from SapSap123. Wendell, Debo, do your guys' states have an opener as well? Here in Minnesota, we have to wait till the 12th of May to start game fish fishing. Too long. I agree. Absolutely not here in Ohio.
Nope. Same for us. Nope. No season.
I don't know if I've heard of that before.
I think a lot of the Minnesota guys jump over to Walmart. Good Lord, Wisconsin. I don't know why I just said Walmart. Jump over to Wisconsin or down here to Iowa. So,
all right.
Or Walmart. Pick up some pad crashers while you're there.
Hey, there you go. There you go. Trevor Wagner. I get myself in trouble. I post these up here and they start reading them and I haven't read them yet. So I'm gonna get myself in trouble one of these days. It's gonna start off as a question and just go to random. Any tips on lubricating a dry reel? Got a Daiwa and it is so dry it sounds like grinding sand. New? You got one new, or you got one from somewhere, Trevor?
So, Trevor, that's the exact same issue I've had. I'm kind of a Daiwa fanboy. I've become one over the years. And unfortunately, that's the thing I'm noticing as well. I got the Daiwa Tatula 80. I got the Daiwa Tatula Elite. Both of them were bone dry when I got them.
What in the world? Those are like expensive reels,
Yeah, yeah,
like
you'd
top of
think.
the line stuff.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. Yes, take it apart, lube it up, gears get grease, G to G. Remember that gears for grease. All the other moving parts get oil, and
Oil.
less is more. That's the other big thing. If you think you're using too much, you definitely are. Cut it back by like 3/4.
Mm. Mm-hmm. I know you got videos on it. I got videos as well. You know, it's kind of fun getting a new reel. Um, and if you kind of know what you're doing, definitely go online and watch a video on it of someone who has the exact same ones because there's a lot of small
Yes.
parts in here, and they will like they're spring loaded a lot of times. And so if you don't have if
Keep
you're
your
not
exploded
systematic,
diagram.
yes, if you're not systematic and taking this thing apart, and you're not doing it over like a white towel, if you're doing it over carpet, you could lose a piece and game over. Game over, and good luck finding that part. So, but it
Yep.
is kind of fun getting a new reel and really understanding the brakes, taking it apart, and if you have to grease it or oil it, absolutely right. Grease, gears, oil, less is more, and then you know keep that thing. You can have it around since 2002. All right, Mike Vogel got a question for you regarding spinning reels. Do you have a size preference? 2,500, 3,000, deep spool, shallow?
Yeah, so most of the finesse fishing I do, I like a 3,000 size for the larger spool. The larger spool you have, the more line you're going to take up. It's not because you need the line capacity. It's not like I'm playing a redfish or something where it's going to be taking me all the way down. Bass fishing around here, kind of like you said, in Iowa, if I'm hooking a 5, 6, 7 pounder, that's probably the biggest fish I'm going to see out here as far
Yeah,
as bass.
right.
But yeah, I like the 3,000 size just for that little bit bigger size. If you're casting and retrieving something, you might want like a 2,500 or something a little slower. Um, but that's kind of my take on it. I just like to take up a little bit more line.
Yeah. All right, let me see here. They keep on coming in, so we're just gonna stay here. I think it's fun. I love answering these questions.
Bring them. I
Bring
like
it
question
on.
time.
And half the time, if I don't have to answer it, I'm not going to answer it. Zap's like first time on a live show, so I have loads of questions. Hey, welcome to your first live show. These are fun. YouTube comments are great, and we'll get back to you, but it'll be like maybe a day. Maybe we won't get back to you because we have full time jobs and Debo's working 50 hours a week. Didn't know that. Respect. Tip my hat to you there. It's pretty awesome. Lost in Tackle's like very afraid taking my SLX apart. Do you have a video on that, Debo, by chance? Taking one of those apart?
Yeah, actually, the new SLX I bought, I did take them both apart, the old one and the new one, just to kind of show the differences. Because some of the stuff I felt was, I guess, a little misleading, kind of markety jargon. But I mean,
Tell
it's
me
still a
more.
solid
Tell
reel.
me more.
Oh, they said that it has like the silent tune spool on it, and it shows like some of the higher end Shimano's will have a spring on the ends of the spool to help vibration and stuff when you cast. It's supposed to quiet it down a lot. I'm like, did they really put that in here? So I took it apart, and it doesn't have that, but it's got like little round, like O-rings, I guess you would say, on either side of the spool to help stop those vibrations and stuff. So nerd stuff, taking reels apart, but otherwise it's I would say a couple little improvements over the old one, but not earth shattering,
Yeah,
but still a very good reel at 99 bucks,
sure.
especially.
Just enough changed to get a new model out the door.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Look, most people never open it up. They're like, oh, I trust what that says, whatever that is, whatever that means. Um, if you're like you and me, and you start getting YouTube videos, you're like, is there an angle here? What in the world's in here? Just
That's a
pure
yeah. I'm like I feel
curiosity.
like I'd be a poser if I talked about it and was like, did they really do that? I don't know if I really trust them, and then just went on and did the specs and everything. I'm like, we got to break this baby open and
We
see.
we
So
gotta know.
yeah.
We'll lose all the parts in the carpet for you, so you don't have to and be frustrated wondering
So
why this thing isn't working correctly when we put it back together.
yes, the biggest tip I can give to that is as you take everything apart, either take pictures if you're really scared, or two, every single piece you take off, put it in order. So if I take the handle off, the handle nut, the handle, then I've got the drag washer, then I've got everything you take apart, lay it as you're taking it off. That way when you put it together, it's the exact opposite order and you've got them all laid out. So
Yeah.
that's helped me the most.
And be really careful. My dad and I were taking apart his 1974 Zebco 444 Classic or something like
Oh
that.
wow.
Yeah, it was OG, and we're taking the thing apart and like careful not to flip it over, right? Because some of that stuff is specific. So if you get it, you're like, oh, this is cool when you're playing with it, or you're like cleaning it off a little bit and you set it down, but you set it down upside down. Game over. Good luck trying to figure that out
Yeah.
on the back end. So as you take it off one by one, a lot of this stuff's grease, a lot of it's oiled, a lot of it stick together. Washers are sticking together. It's good just to take those apart. And like you said, one by one, you have a line. You'd be surprised how many
Yep.
parts are in these things. Crazy, crazy, crazy. All right, let me see. This one's for, I guess one's for you. I don't have one. Anyone does this from Hook Life? Anyone have a recommended video on repairing opinion gear on a spinning reel? Debo, have you ever done one of these?
Oh God, I think I'm like most people that take reels apart and clean reels. I will do a bait caster in my sleep, eyes closed. I feel like these days, spinning reels, I'll just let them go until they break because I absolutely hate taking apart spinning reels. You want to talk about a lot of spring-loaded parts and little pieces and springs, like they're even worse. Yeah, I've not done enough of them. I've only done a couple, and no, I don't have a video on that. Might depend on the reel too. Some are probably easier than others, but ugh.
Adam Lowe. That's a good question. I like this one. Baitcaster combo inquiry. What gear ratio would you guys recommend for a heavy, fast 7.4 rod, flipping frogs, etc.? Also, line reco. Debo, I'll let you take this one because I know how much you love frog fishing, and you probably have goods on this.
Yeah, I've got a couple. Like I've got a dedicated frog combo. I fish frogs so much. So mine's gonna be a 7-speed reel, aluminum frame. Try to get that if you can afford that. It'll last way longer. And I fish 65-pound braid, and people say it's overkill. Like, dude, you couldn't be fishing that much thick stuff. It's not that I think a fish. I mean, I can land fish. I've ice fished, and caught fish on 2-pound monofilament. 3-pound bass.
Right.
That's not the thing that's stopping it. It's the muck, everything else that I've got out there. And they're like, well, you could get away with 40, you could get away with 50. Yeah, I might, but that might be the 10-pounder, the only 10-pounder I'm ever going to see in my life. And what if I was trying to get away with 40 and it breaks, because it takes me around a tree or something. So
I know it
I don't
happens.
think
You
it's
think about that the rest of your life, and it haunts you in your nightmares, and you talk about it
Yeah.
on your live show for the next 3 years. Yeah. It's
I would
painful.
open up my basement, and if that happened, I would open up my basement and be like, first come, first serve. I don't want any of this stuff anymore. Take
I
it.
am done.
Yeah, done.
Done.
So that's what I would do. If you want, you could bump down to 50. I know a lot of people throw 50. I guess I get weird about it. 50-pound braid. And then you could always go to a fluorocarbon leader. So if you go with 50-pound braid, good for flipping and pitching, you could tie like, a 17, 20-pound leader to flip Texas rig and jigs and that stuff.
Yeah. Man, they keep coming in. I absolutely love this. All right, hop over here. I have no comment on this. Maybe you might. Adam Lowe, what do you guys think about ceramic aftermarket bearings?
They are great for a couple certain things. I think the big pitch that people kind of misconstrue is like casting distance. I feel like that's the biggest thing that people like lay their hat on is, yeah, I get this. I'm going to be able to cast 30 yards farther. You will notice an increase in casting distance, but it's not like night and day that I feel like most people think. The two biggest things for me is less startup inertia, and I guess it's kind of those two things together. Less startup inertia for anything you're throwing normally, and then also that less startup inertia to throw things that are lighter. So if you've got a reel where you feel like, oh, I want to flip and pitch like a weightless fluke or a stick bait, it will help with that because it doesn't take as much to get that going, that reel going. Or just like if I've got a spinnerbait, 3/8 ounce spinnerbait, I can throw the same spinnerbait with less power, just like a little flick of the wrist, and it's a lot easier casting. So I think those are the big benefits, and you don't have to lube them. So you don't have, like, if you get a hybrid bearing, you don't ever have to put oil or grease or anything in them. They run forever that way. So,
all right, right on. We are coming to the closing of our time, but so if you have a final last call for questions, go ahead and throw those in there. Got a couple here. This one comes from Sap. Wendell, what kayak was your most favorite have you owned so far and why? Oh, there we go. Well, I'll be completely honest with everyone. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I've touched every kayak out there. I've really only owned 2. I bought them both off of Facebook Marketplace. One's a Native Slayer Propel 10, so it's got the propel drive. I love it. It's bulletproof. I love working with my hands and stuff like that. If you've been on my channel, you know that. And so I like getting in there, greasing it. It does require maintenance, but I like doing that type of thing. And so that is great. It's a 10-footer. So when I go down, we were talking about these ponds and stuff like that. I like taking a 10-footer in there. I put an extended rudder on it. I can really take tight turns. It sucks at tracking because it's just short and kind of fat, but it's great for that type of fishing. Now, if I'm heading out to a larger body of water, I recently picked up the Bonafide P127, so an extra 2 feet 7 inches on that bad boy, and that matters a lot. Although it tracks like a boss, like I can just set the rudder and go. I can like look at my phone or do a video, and I won't be off track at all. So it tracks well. But typically, when the whole designs on kayaks track well, they're absolutely awful at turning, right? And so the turning radius on that blows. But it's instant reverse, so you can back that up. So I got them both for like steals. I buy all my fishing kayaks like in December when everyone's like, I don't want this thing in my garage anymore.
I used it twice and didn't
I've
like
used it. The guy who sold me this one, he was pretty cool. But I drove 3 hours for both of them. And I got there and he's like, I used this once. I looked like that picking this Bonafide P1 off of the showroom floor. I couldn't even tell he was in it. I mean, not even a single scratch mark underneath. And those things run, I think, around 3,100. I think I got like a G off of it. So I could probably use it for a year and sell it for what I bought it for. But those are the only two I've been in. But that's my type of fishing, right? I don't need a motor because I'm not on lakes that are more than 2,000 acres. It's just enough for me to paddle around. So if I was on like a Gunnersville or some major lake, I'd probably look into a motor deal. But we're not going to take a too deep of dive there. Just want to answer that real fast. Debo, I'm going to throw this one over to you. From Sap123, favorite time to fish: early morning glass water or late hour of sunlight? And any rationale for that?
I'm always early morning because I love the drive early in the morning. Like there's nobody out. Like it's my time to just think and I don't know, get pumped up. And then the thing with early morning fishing is, you have more time to figure that bite out and keep going, and it's fun. My fishing time is very limited, so I really appreciate those days that I can get out. I'm thankful for that. Whereas like I love evening fishing, but it's like I only have a certain amount of time and I'm done. So
yeah,
that's me.
I'll answer this since you asked both of us. I love early morning. I never really fish at night unless I'm out for like a weekend trip, and I literally fish before work. So like I get up at sometimes 5:30 a.m. and I get out and fish until I find a local lake next to me, and there's nobody out there that early. Maybe just a few. As I'm getting off the water, that's when all the boats are rolling up. And I've already caught everything I need to catch. Frog bites, sick in the morning. It's awesome. Absolutely awesome. So if you have the opportunity to get out there before work, it is worth it getting up really early, and it'll make your day. When you never had a better day than catching a 5-6 pounder before work, showing all your buddies, oh, what'd you do this morning? I don't know this.
Not much.
I love it. All right, we're going to take one more question here. Let me see. Do we have them? Yeah, a couple more here. Top water, early morning for me, early morning, Jeremy. So early morning all around. Early morning all around. Love it. Love it. Love it. All right, so let me see here. Oh, let me give you. This is going to be. Here's a question I'm interested. Debo, what's the next year look like for you? Now, I was surprised when you told me that you weren't full time, and is there a goal to do that anytime in the future, or no? It's not even on your radar. You love your job, whatever it is that you do. What's the rest of 2023 look like for you?
It's probably going to be the same thing. I mean, I would love to. The thing is, I tip my hat to those guys and gals that fish full time, YouTube and stuff. I guess I just don't have the balls to quit and give up my pension, give up, 401k, everything that I've worked for with a family. Like if I was single, for sure, I would have already been out a long time ago and grinding at everything, in the fishing industry that I could. But having a wife and 2 kids, it's like, I don't, what if YouTube changes tomorrow and they don't do monetization anymore? Who knows? So it's probably going to be the same thing. I'm this year, my kind of resolution. I don't New Year's resolutions. I think that's dumb. But my one thing I do want to change this year is getting back to a lot of the beginner type instructionals and stuff. Last year it was really just kind of me fishing, like come along with me. I'll
Mhm.
do reviews and stuff here and there. But it was just kind of like, the adventure side. Like I'm just gonna go fishing, I'm gonna film it and try to teach you some stuff along the way. But really getting back to like the early days, I think that did kind of help me grow more was doing more of that, like how to, showing the videos on the water, really breaking stuff down and helping those folks that are just starting out, especially now, with COVID and all that getting so many people into fishing. I
Mm.
feel like that's kind of surged again, that there is a need for that more. So,
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm excited about it. You got to subscribe from me today. If you haven't done it yet, head over to Debo's page, see his videos. I'm sure you'll like them. And then go ahead and give him a sub. Follow this guy because it's pretty awesome.
thanks,
And
man.
I've learned a lot over the last couple of years. To a lot of times I'll have a question about something, and boom, there it is. You've already answered it. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for coming on the show tonight. Guys, don't
Yeah.
forget to sign up for the Knucklehead Bass Fishing Series. Head over there. Love to have you on my team. We'll see you next Tuesday, where this is something new. Fishing with Gramps and myself is doing a mashup live show. And so essentially going to be interviewing each other because StreamYard, the system of which this live show is on, allows us to kind of broadcast now on both platforms. So we're going to try out a mashup
Hmm.
and should be fun. Fishing Grips, good guy. I like him. So
He's a
it'll be
good
good.
cat.
Yeah, for sure. So see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Debo, thank you. You're the man.
Thank you for